Is this thing on? They say that this on. They say that the live is on. What's going on? Tell me you came here pretty quick. Good afternoon to you. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out in the comment section. Well, Instagram ain't telling you I had a live going on yet. I don't think they got the word out yet. We're going to give it a few seconds. We give it about 30, 60 seconds. See if we can get in the building. You can shout out your name and location. Houston is in the house. Shout out to Houston. Shout out to everybody in Houston. Shout out to Philadelphia. Shout out to Washington, D.C., Seattle. What other cities can I name? Chicago, Boston, Toronto. What other cities do I know? Detroit, Cambridge, Camden, Pittsburgh, Roanoke. What's the other ones? Virginia Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville. Shout out to everybody who was coming in. Tell me your name and location when you come in. We're gonna get into the conversation, and we're gonna get into this in about 30 seconds. This should have started like 10 minutes ago, but for some reason my browser. I'm live on Facebook as well, by the way. Anybody who is, if you prefer Facebook, you get on Facebook/work on your game. I'm assuming you understand the .com is part of that. Facebook/work on your game. My business group in Facebook is called Six Figures and Growing. Again, that's Facebook. Now, Facebook.com, I think it's /groups/ but just go to work on your game. You can see the groups in there. It's the easiest way to get to it. Louisiana is in the building. Shout out to Louisiana. So you from two different places, you in Houston and Louisiana at the same time, Tillman? I didn't know that was possible. But shout out to Louisiana, shout out to Houston. And for those of you who don't know me, we're going to get into it, and people come in when they come in. My name is Dre Baldwin, former 9-year pro athlete. Some people know me as Dre all day. I just told you basketball is my sport. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I've written 33 books, created this whole framework called Work on Your Game, where what we do here is real simple. We take the mental tools and the strategies to help athletes get to the top 1% in the sports world. We translate them over to the business world to help professionals like yourselves do 3 specific things. Number 1, perform at a higher level. Number 2, be more consistent. Number 3, make more money. You can't see those numbers. Higher level, consistency, make more money. What we're going to talk about here today is data over drama. What this is really about is I've talked about this. If you listen to my podcast, even if you don't, you may have heard me talk about this, in that the data decides. When you are making decisions in any form of business, you should have some data based on that you base your decisions on. And there's objective data like statistics and numbers and things that you can measure. And then there's a thing called subjective data. I was on Twitter last week and I used that. I said subjective plus objective data, and I should have said subjective observation. People are like, well, no such thing as subjective data. That's not true. There is a such thing as subjective data. Most people call it lived experience. And even though many people misuse that phrase of lived experience to make it mean more than it doesn't mean it does not have value. Subjective data, i.e. lived experience, does have value, because if someone has more subjective experience than you do, then what they know or what they infer about a situation matters, because they have experience. They've done it often enough. So if you're somebody who is, for example, if you run a daycare and you've dealt with like hundreds of babies, and somebody else is having their first baby, there are probably some things that you have seen with babies that you know works or doesn't work based on your subjective experience that the person who is a first-time parent may not know, because they don't have the experience that you have. So subjective data does matter. So when I say data, that's what we're talking about. Ideally, we're talking about objective stuff that's black and white that we can measure. But the whole point is you want to use information to help you understand why you should make all your decisions and settle your disputes based on measurable data, not just going off of your emotions and feelings. Because subjective information, subjective observation, or what some people may call subjective data, you probably don't hear that phrase that often, is not your emotions and feelings. It's about your past experience. The things that you have experienced in your life, they do matter. So a person who's played 10 years of basketball knows more than a person who's played 10 days of basketball, because they have seen what other people have not seen. That's the whole point. So let's get into what this means when I say data over drama. Number 1, You need to know the facts of what is happening. Anything that you do, you need to know the facts. And understand, when I say know the facts, you got to know all the facts, not just the facts that are convenient for you. You got to know the facts that are inconvenient. You got to know the facts that maybe make you uncomfortable. You need to know the facts that may make you have to take everything that you're doing, scrap it, throw it in the garbage, and go back to the drawing board. You got to know all the facts of what you are doing, especially the ones that may cause you to rethink or rework what you thought was going to work or what you thought you were going to do. That's what I mean when I say know the facts. This is why measuring and benchmarking what you're doing matters so much. So somebody sent me a text earlier today. And by the way, if you're not in my text community, I'm going to put my number in here. If you want to get my text messages that I send out every single day for free, I'm going to grab the little phone emoji so y'all know what this is when I put this number in here. If you want to get my text messages that I send out every day free of charge in this text that I send out called the Daily Motivation, then just text me at this number that I'm putting in the chat. I'll just put it in the chat there. Somebody texted me today and they were saying the thing that they're working on is they're trying to lose some weight. And I said, okay, great. I said, how much weight do you want to lose and by when do you want to lose the weight? And this person said to me, let me tell you what this person said. They said, let me see if I can find this text. They said, I said, how much weight do you want to lose and by when? And they said, I don't have a weight or a date in mind. So they don't have an amount or how long they want to lose the weight in mind. Neither one. They said, I just want to put in the work and let the results come. And listen, that person might be listening to me right now. I don't know exactly who they are. They said, I lost a bunch of weight back in high school. Now, this person is, according to their information, 24 years of age. So we're talking like somewhere between 6 and 10 years ago, they lost a bunch of weight. That is irrelevant to what we're talking about now. But they said they don't have a weight or a date in mind, even though their goal is they want to lose more weight because they put on some weight over the course of the winter. And I said to them the same thing that I'll say to all of you. If you don't have a goal, then you can't score. I mean, many of you have maybe heard that phrase before. It's a true thing. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche based in truth. If you don't have a clear goal, then it's hard for you to score. All right, someone said you want to lose 15 pounds by April. Great. At least you have a target and you got a date. You got to have these things. I was talking to a young man yesterday. He was, I believe, 25 years of age, and he might be watching this right now. And he was saying that he was in music. He was saying that he wanted to have his album come out, and he wanted to put out a couple albums over the course of the next maybe year or so. I said, okay, well, exactly how many albums you want to put out and when do you want to put them out by? And this person was saying, well, I don't really have an exact date. I just know I want to get them out there. And I said, well, you know what they say about a goal that does not have a deadline, right? You know what they actually call that? He started laughing. He didn't even answer the question because he knew exactly what I was saying. For those of you who don't know the answer, they call that a wish. If you have an outcome that you want to achieve and you don't put a deadline on it and you don't put anything measurable on it, then you don't actually have a goal. What you have is a wish. What you have is a dream. What you have is a hope. And there's nothing wrong with wishes, dreams, and hopes. Those are positive things, but you can't build a business around wishes, dreams, and hopes. Can you? I was on a call earlier today with someone who's going to get into my university coaching program. I can't tell them that, look, all right, I know I can help you, sir, but here's what we're going to do. I got this wish for you. I got this dream for you, and I have this hope for you. Now give me money, and I'm going to help you. All right, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to pay me for that. You can't build a business around that. All right, you want to build a business, and you want to be professional at what you do, then you have to have measurables, meaning I need to be able to say, if I want to achieve a goal by the end of this year, right, I need to be able to go at the end of March, which is coming up in about 3 weeks to the end of March, and I'll say, all right, I'm a quarter into the year. Now I can say, am I a quarter on the way to my goal? Am I there or am I short? If I'm a quarter of the way to my goal, then I know I'm on track. So let's just say that this year, 2023, when I'm recording this, if I wanted to make $100,000 this year, by the end of March, that's a quarter of the way into the year. I want to be somewhere around 25K because that's a quarter of a way to 100,000. If I'm at 10K instead of 25K, then I'm behind on my goal. Then something has to be adjusted. I got to make a change. If I want to lose, let's just say, I'm just using this as an example, I want to lose 100 pounds this year. By the end of March, which is 1 quarter into the year, I should be down around 25 pounds because that's a quarter of the way there. Unless I got some other kind of plan to supercharge my process along the way. You need to have measurables for what you're doing so that you can have benchmarks. What I just explained there is a benchmark. So that's not the goal, but it's a a point along the way that I know I'm in the right direction. So if I want to make $100,000 in the year, then that means we can just break that down. $100,000 in a year comes out to, I believe that's 83.33 per month. Well, let me be sure and check my math. I believe that's the right numbers. I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. Yes. $100,000 a year is $8,333.33 every single month, which means I can look at my numbers in January, look at my numbers in February, look at my numbers in March, and know where I'm at. Then I can look at my numbers at the end of March, 1 quarter into the year. Am I at 25K or close? Halfway through the year, I can look at the numbers. Am I at 50K or close? When I get to the end of September, I got 3 months left. Am I at 75K or close? That way, those are the benchmarks along the way. So I know that I'm on the right track. See, the thing is, when people set goals, it shouldn't just be 0 and then the goal. Those shouldn't be the only times that you look at the goal. This is why I tell people, if you're familiar with my work, you know that I tell people all the time, set goals every month. Every month you should be setting goals. The month of March, right now, when y'all listen who are listening live, you should have goals for this month. If you are listening to this in April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, doesn't matter when you're listening to this, what year you're listening to it, there should be a goal. There should be a set of goals for that particular month that are based on the goals you want to achieve for the year. And the goals you achieve for the year should be based on the goals you want to achieve in the next 5 years, 10 years, and the goals that you want to achieve lifetime. And yes, you should have goals for each one of those written down and committed to paper. Everybody catch that? You should have goals written down, committed to paper for this month, this year, next 5 years, the next 10 years in your lifetime. If you don't have those, then what exactly are you working for? You don't know where you're going. The goal is a plan, is an expectation of your future success. That's why you got to have the benchmarks along the way so you can say, all right, I'm halfway there. I'm halfway towards the deadline of my goal. Am I halfway to the goal? That way you know if you need to pick it up, if you need to slow it down, if you need to do more, if you need to do less. So you have to be measuring what you're doing, and those are the benchmarks along the way. And then you got to have the deadline. The deadline of when am I actually going to achieve this goal? The reason that the deadline matters, everybody, is because the deadline gives you a sense of urgency so that you actually do the stuff that you're supposed to do, and you're not just around here talking about it, thinking about it, hoping and dreaming about it. You're actually doing something to get to the goal. And also the reason why the deadline matters even more, I would say, than the benchmark and the actual number. The reason why the deadline matters, here's why. Because your time is not unlimited. See, a lot of people live their lives as if their time is unlimited. Oh, well, I'll get to it later. Or somebody will say to me, well, I want to do these things. I want to do X, Y, Z. And they have all the reasons why they want to do X, Y, Z. They know they want to do it. Then when it comes time to actually execute and do it, they give themselves excuses to not do it. And usually the excuse is something around adding time to the situation. I'll do it later. Actually, I just got a text message. So y'all know that I'm not BSing y'all. I just got a text message from somebody. They sent me this. I'm not even going to say what app they sent this on, but if this person is ever listening, they'll know who they are. They said, all right, so the amount that they would need to invest, they said, is not in their budget right now. Fine. This is what they said. I want to pause for a few weeks and see where I am. And I'm gonna break all this down in 1 second. All right. So any of you ever catch yourself saying this bullshit, and I will tell this person that this is bullshit what they just said. So I'm not talking behind their back. I talk to people directly like this. If you come work with me, we're going to get things done. And one of the ways that we get things done is we got to cut through the bullshit that you've been doing that has been causing you to not get things done. So this person said this amount, whatever amount they would need to invest to get to their outcome, is not in their budget. Okay, let's continue what else they said. I want to pause for a few weeks to see where I am. I wrote down what I'm looking for. I would love to share and see if such and such is a match. I don't want to rush anything. I don't want to rush into anything because this will be a long relationship that I will have for a long time. This is what this person said. They don't want to rush into anything. They want to see where they're at. They want to pause for a few weeks to see where they are. All right, let me tell you why this right here. And this is something that is not just this person, because a lot of people talk like this. So it doesn't even matter who this is, because I talk to a lot of people every day and a lot of people talk just like that. Let me tell you why that is some bullshit that has nothing to do with me. That's some bullshit that you have conditioned yourself to believe. Number one, if you're in a situation where you know there is something that needs to change, the last thing you need is to pause to see where you are. We know where you are. All right. You're not where you want to be. We already know that. All right. That's not news. You're pausing to figure out that you're not where you want to be. You already know where you want to be. You know that you're not there. So what are you pausing for? All you're doing is adding time to the situation. The challenge with adding time to a situation, everybody, please listen very carefully, is that your time is not unlimited. One day your time will be up. It will be over. So every time you add time to a situation, it is as if you are saying to life, I don't believe you that one day I'm not going to have any more time. All right, that makes no sense. And then this person said, I don't want to rush into anything because this will be a long relationship that I will have for a long time. Really? That's the reason why you don't want to rush into anything? You're not rushing into anything when you've had multiple conversations with somebody about what you're doing, where you're at, what you need. Like, this is bullshit. This is what people do. And again, I'm just using that as an example. And there's like 10 different people that can be that I'm talking about right now, because a lot of people talk like that. And it's an excuse that you use to do nothing. It is an excuse to add time to a situation. When you add time to a situation, you are doing two things. Number one, you are assuming incorrectly that you have unlimited time, which you don't. Number two, since you already know that something needs to change and you say, I want to add time to the situation, I want to think about it, I want to pause, I want to see where I'm at, or what was the other thing you said? I don't want to rush into anything. These are I don't want to make rash decisions. I'm not a person who makes decisions quickly. Any of you use this kind of language. Okay, stop lying to yourself. All right, stop bullshitting. You know that that's bullshit. Anybody you say that to knows that it's bullshit. And most people are too nice to tell you that to your face. I'll tell you to your face, that's some bullshit. All you're doing is giving yourself an excuse to keep doing the same thing that you've been doing when you already know that the thing that you've been doing does not work. So why would you keep doing it? I can answer that question too, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I might get into it later on here today. The whole point here, what we're talking about here today, is data over drama. You need to have benchmarks, you need to have deadlines, and you need to have clear measurables for how you know when you have gotten to the outcome that you want to get to. Deadlines and measurables. When does it need to be done by? What exactly needs to be done? How will you know that it's done? It needs to be something that you can measure in black and white, that somebody else can look at it and say, okay, that was your goal. Okay, I see you reached the goal. It can't be something that you just feel or you just think about or you're just going off of how you feel about it. It needs to be something that you can look at and say, this actually happened. This actually got finished. And again, if you want to be professional at what you do, it doesn't even have to be that you own a business. Being a professional just means you show up and get the job done consistently. There needs to be measurables for what you're doing. Point number two, we are talking data over drama. Here's the paradox of all of this. You have to have clarity on what's happening while at the same time maintaining positivity that things will actually work out. This is the hard part about data. And this is the reason why a lot of people don't like to have data for when they're doing their work or what they're working on, because the data often slaps you in the face with a dose of reality. That's the challenge with having data, is that the data will look you in the face and tell you, you think it's going this way, but it's actually going this way. You think you're here, but you're actually here. The data, the actual black and white facts, will tell you that maybe you're not doing as good as you thought you were. And a lot of people understand that on a subconscious level, but they don't want to consciously be reminded of it. Therefore, they ignore the data so that they can keep telling themselves a story that allows them to feel good, but is not actually helping you do good. This is what a lot of people do to basically keep themselves in bullshitting mode. Telling themselves, hey, I'm good. I'm in a good space. I need to think about it. I don't want to rush into anything. This is the kind of stuff that people say all the time. The reason people say these kind of things is because they don't want to deal with the actual facts of what's going on, the black and white measurable data of what's really going on. Because, again, it will be a dose of reality a dose of reality juice that you don't want to drink. Let's put it that way. But there's the paradox. This is why we have Bulletproof Mindset in Work on Your Game University, is that you need to be able to look at the raw facts of what's happening in your situation, even when those raw facts don't sound good, and say to yourself, okay, these raw facts are kind of messed up right now. I'm not in a good space right now, but you know what? I can still maintain a positive attitude that I can do something about this, even though I didn't get the outcome that I wanted. Like, that's what you have to be able to do. Like, you got to be able to do that. If you can't do that, then what's going to happen is either A, you're going to look at the raw facts and get discouraged and just quit, or B, you're going to ignore the raw facts, not have any measurables, have no benchmarks, have no deadlines, and you're just going to keep floating through life thinking that everything's okay when you know it's not okay, and then eventually you'll get to the end and you're going to die in mediocrity. This is what happens with 95% of people. Not because they are unaware of, some of them are unaware of what I just said, but many of them are aware of it. They just don't want to deal with the discomfort of actually dealing with it. And usually when I'm dealing with newer entrepreneurs, the black and white stuff is usually a splash of cold water, like the facts of actually measuring what you're doing and figuring out, is this making sense? Am I doing the right things? Am I getting to where I want to go? Usually that's a splash of cold water being thrown in your face. You're getting slapped in the face with reality. And a lot of people don't like getting slapped in the face with reality. So what they do is they ignore anything that smells like reality so that they can stay in their la-la land of thinking everything's good when they know that it's not. Or they have a feeling that it's not. They don't actually know because they won't measure anything. This is why the data matters so much. So it's a combination here, folks. I want everybody to catch this. It's a combination of you having the raw data, the black and white information, at the same time having the mindset of understanding that even though things don't look or sound great right now, it can become great. And not being discouraged about that. You can't let yourself get discouraged by the fact that things don't look perfect right now, because you can make them better. You can work on it, but you got to know what you're working on. If you don't know what you're working on, how can you make it better? Well, that's a trick question. You can't. Good thing about having factual information is that you will know where you are actually at, so you can stop living in a fantasy world. And then you'll have clarity on what's happening, and you can use your mental toughness and the bulletproof mindset that you have developed, which you can get at the Bulletproof Mindset course inside of Work on Your Game University. And now you can move more accurately and precisely to where you actually want to be. So you should be happy when you have accurate information, even if that accurate information is telling you something that doesn't make you feel great, something that says, damn, maybe I ain't doing that good. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. That's okay. You want the data. You got to have the data that tells you what's actually happening. What's going on? Nigel Pugh checking in. When I was trying to go play ball, I was trying to play pro ball when I graduated from college. And my first year out of college, I didn't play. I didn't get signed to the year after I graduated college. But I had to look at the subjective data, subjective observation of my situation, which is saying, look, you're not on anybody's team and nobody's checking for you right now. And I had to have that conversation with myself and be honest with myself about where I was at. Because if I wasn't willing to be honest with myself about where I was at, then it'd be very difficult for me to get to where I want to go. So you got to be able to have that. You got to be able and willing to have that honest conversation about where your current situation is, so you could do something about the next level of the situation, taking the next step about where you want to go. So that's when I say subjective data, that's what I'm talking about. All right? You have to be willing to be honest. And sometimes that honesty is an observation. Sometimes that honesty is something that's just black and white on paper, and you can just look at it. Like, all right, we're supposed to be at 25K by this point. We're only at 10K. We're off. We're 60% off. We need to do something about this situation. Whatever it is, but you have to be looking at it, and you got to be honest about the actual data that's in front of you. Point number 3. We're talking data over drama here. Number 3, use the data for making decisions, but that doesn't mean you have to be a slave to the information. Sometimes you do get to make adjustments, and you get to make decisions based on your fingertip feel, what we call that, your fingertip feel of the situation. Because sometimes the data says you could do this, this, or this. You got 3 options. Which one are you going to choose? And you have to go off of your instincts. You got to go off your intuition and decide which option are you going to choose when you have multiple choices. You don't always have to do something. It's not always just one option you have based on the information in front of you. You use the information to guide your decision making, but it doesn't control your decision making. Those are 2 different things. Guiding is, it's telling you, all right, these are the things that we know. Here are the things we know we need to do. Based on that, what options do we have? And when you're using it to control you, then it's like, all right, well, this is the information, so we absolutely have to do this. That's usually not the case. Most of the time, that's not the case. So you want to be able to make decisions and still be flexible in your thinking, despite the fact you have information that's telling you something. Use the information as like an advisor. It's like if you're the king of some land back in the day, you had advisors around you who would tell you, here are all the things that you need to know, Your Highness. Then you still get to make a decision about what to do based on the information that you have in front of you. So the data is not the final decision maker, but the data is one of the trusted advisors that has a seat at the table in the boardroom that is letting you know what's going on. So when you make a decision, you know you're making an informed decision, and your actions are informed based on the information in front of you. So this is the part where it is not so black and white, where somebody can just tell you, all right, if you see this, do this. If that happens, do that. Same way that in basketball, when I used to post basketball drills all the time, sometimes players would say to me, well, Dre, when in the game would I do that move that you just did? So this move that you did in the video, when would I use that move? And I would always say to players, that's not the way it works. It's like if you're a boxer and your boxing trainer shows you how to do a punch combination, you don't say to the trainer, hey, win in a fight, am I going to do that punch combination? That doesn't make any sense, because in the fight, you have no idea what the other fighter is going to do. You don't know where you're going to be at in the ring. The situation is fluid. So you practice so that when you get into the live situation, you pull things out when you need to pull them out, and they should be coming out instinctively. It shouldn't be something that you have to plan and think about. You can't get in a boxing match with a plan of what punches you're going to throw. That doesn't make any sense, right? Any of you ever been in a boxing match or even watched one live, you know that that's not the way that it works. Same thing with a basketball game. You can't go in the game planning like, all right, in the game, the first time I get the ball, I'm going to do this move and that move. It depends on what the defense is doing. And you can't plan ahead of time. You just got to react instinctively. And the only way you get to react instinctively is you have to do the work. You do your homework, as we like to say. Do your homework up front so that when you get into a live situation, you can make decisions instinctively without having to stop and say, all right, what do I do now? That happened. You're on a sales call. Any of you who's in sales, you're on a sales conversation. You don't have like a list of all the ways you can respond to people right there on a list in front of you. Maybe you do, but you might not be able to pull up the right one at the right time. You're in the middle of a conversation. All right, so somebody says something to you. You have to have practiced how to handle what they said enough times that when you get in a live conversation, whatever they say, you have a way of responding to it. But if you don't have a way of responding to it, then you'll get stuck. You'll end up missing the sale. Then you get off the call. You look at your list like, damn, I didn't say that. I could have said that. I forgot about this. That's a lack of preparation on your part. And a lack of preparation belies a lack of professionalism, because professionals are always prepared. Professionals are always prepared ahead of time for any situation. And the data is part of your preparation as a professional. As a professional, you should know the data that you need to know before you walk into a sales conversation, before you go into a negotiation, before you go into any meeting that you're going to have with your team. You need to have that information in front of you. You don't have that information, and you should either know it or you should have access to it in front of you anytime you're in the conversation, so that when the conversation begins, you can actually give people what they need, tell them what they need to know, and answer any questions that they happen to ask. Professionals are always prepared, folks. Everybody hear me? Professionals are always prepared. Professionals do not show up in a situation and figure it out as they go along. That's what amateurs do. And professionals get paid the way they get paid, not because of their talent, because there are a lot of talented amateurs. Professionals get paid because they are consistent. And they're consistent because they do the homework that allows them to be consistent. That's how it works. So the data is like, again, it's like a member of a committee that is giving you information, but doesn't mean that they make the final decision. You're still in charge. That's why you're the leader. Most important thing a leader does is make decisions. If it was easy to make decisions and everything was based on black and white information, then computers can make better decisions than human beings, because computers don't have feelings or emotions or bad days. Computers don't get tired. They can make way better decisions than humans if it was all based on just black and white. So everybody, use the data. Don't let the data completely control you, but the data should have a say in your decision-making process. Everybody got that? So the 3 points that I just did, I'm going to recap them real quick. If anybody has a question, put it in the comments. I'll address it. Topic is data over drama. Number one, know the facts of what is happening. The data is knowing the facts. What exactly is taking place? Where is it taking place? Why is it taking place? You should know exactly what's going on in black and white. And sometimes data is just data. Sometimes facts are just the facts. Now, yes, is it possible facts can be taken out of context? Is it possible there are different ways to look at facts? Yes and yes. But sometimes the facts of a situation are just that. And there's no way that you can go around them. They just are what they are. Point number two, paradox of this is that you have to have clarity on what's really happening while maintaining a positive mindset that things still can work out for the best. This is the biggest challenge that a lot of people have. And this is why I have a course called Bulletproof Mindset inside the university, because a lot of people, when they look at the facts of a situation, and those facts don't sound good, they get discouraged and they end up basically quitting on themselves. And number three, use the data for making decisions, but don't be a slave to the data. So the data that you have in front of you is like a trusted advisor. It's like your right-hand man. It's like your personal assistant. Your personal assistant can tell you all the information that you need to make a decision, but your personal assistant does not make the decision for you. The reason you're a leader is because you make the decisions. So you use data to be informed, then you make a decision based on the data and based on everything else that goes into the situation. It's not just based on the data. And you get to decide how much of the data you want to factor into your decision and how much you don't. That's why you're the leader. This is what makes leaders who they are, is the fact that they are willing and able to make decisions. A leader's number one job is making decisions. It's not having information. Computers have more information than any human being will ever have. So, but is a computer a leader? No. It's just a source of information. You make the decision as a human being. That requires your critical thinking, you mixing in your subjective observations or subjective data with the objective data. That's the black and white stuff. That's how you make your final decisions. If I can answer a question, anyone on Facebook or Instagram, go ahead and put it in the comments. And if not, then I'll wrap this up. Topic today is data over drama. Making decisions based on objective information combined with some subjective observation, subjective data, what some of you call lived experience, or you could just call observation, or you could just call experience, period. You don't even have to call it lived experience, just experience. The more experience you have, the easier it will be to make decisions based on the information that's in front of you because you've seen things that other people simply have not seen. This is just the way that it works. All right, I don't see any questions coming through. All right, so everybody, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you take your next step with me if you want to work with me directly, if you like to be coached by me, if you want to know what data you actually need in your business, because not everybody needs the same data. Certain people need to look at certain things in what they're doing. And also, all of our courses, like I talked about, the Business Builder course, Bulletproof Mindset, Next Mission, Work on Your Game System, 30 Days Discipline, ASAP Confidence, 25 hours, Content Machine, Sell Yourself, Toughen Up, and about 20 more courses that I didn't just mention. Probably 30 more courses I didn't mention, all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. All you got to do is go to that link, workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is also in my bio on IG. It is in the comments here on Facebook. That's how you can get started. That is the only place to take the next step with me is workonyourgameuniversity.com. Everybody have a great Friday. Work on your game.